Hi, it's Ryan 1988 here. Justin, I'm with the lovely Renee Woodley.
Just go eat some Skittles.
Hi, I'm Lisa Wilcox from Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5 and play Alice Johnson, and you are watching Ryan 1988. Go eat some Skittles.
This is Judith O'Day from the original Night of the Living Dead. Ryan, 1988. Go eat some Skittles.
Hi, this is Danielle Harris. You're watching Ryan 1988. Now go eat some Skittles.
Hey, this is TJ Wilson. You are watching Ryan 1988. So totally eat some Skittles.
Ryan 1988. I'm with Tom Atkins. Tom Atkins has to say, go eat some Skittles.
Ago, The Exorcist shocked the world. Now, the struggle between good and evil goes on. Exorcist 2, The Heretic.
What's up, awesome YouTubers? Ryan1988 or Justin back here to do a video for you all. I hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're continuing down, or I'm continuing down, my countdown to Halloween videos. And we have been on a theme the last half of this month with sequels, horror movie sequels, the part 2s in a franchise. The movies that came after the original film. Some are better than others, some are great sequels, some are considered bad sequels, like a movie I'm going to talk about now, but I really enjoy it, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit. But the movie that I'm talking about is Exorcist 2, The Heretic, and this is the Scream Factory release. I doubt we'll ever get this on 4K. I think it's forever going to be stuck on Blu-ray, but at least we have a Blu-ray, and this is a really nice edition of The Exorcist 2, The Heretic. So, you have the slipcover there. There's the back of that. There's the original poster artwork, the back. And then you have two cuts of the movie on this edition. So you have the original cut there, and then you have the home video cut, which I am not familiar with the original home video cut. I've always watched the original cut of the movie or the theatrical cut of the film. So maybe next time when I rewatch this movie, I'll watch the home video cut. But you do get two different cuts of the movie, so they put some work into this. You also get some brand new interviews, not a lot of them, but the major one is Linda Blair coming back and talking about the movie, talking about why she came back to the film, the notorious script changes throughout the making of this movie, and again, how she, signed on to a movie that wasn't the finished product. So it is great to hear Linda Blair come back and talk about the film. She also acknowledges that there is a fan base of this movie. There are people that really enjoy the movie or love the movie. I am one that really enjoys this film. So there is a fan base out there, and she does acknowledge it. So, Exorcist 2, The Heretic is notorious for being one of the worst sequels made, one of the worst horror movie sequels made. There's literally people out there who have never seen the film, but have heard negative things and have stayed away from it. I always personally say that if you are interested in seeing any movie, go into it and give it a watch. you might not like it. You might come out and say, yeah, that's one of the worst sequels ever made. And I agree with that, with what people say. Or like me, you watch the film and you really enjoy the film. I am not a hater of this movie. I see the flaws of the film. It is not a perfect movie by all means. It's got its flaws, and we're going to talk about that too. Or I'm going to talk about that. But real quick, the plot is about, or it takes place 4 years later after the events of the original movie. Linda Blair, Reagan's character, or Reagan, is now a teenager, and, she's trying to move on with her life, while still carrying some of the events that happened in the first movie. She doesn't remember everything, but she definitely remembers what happened. And she is seeing a psychiatrist or doctor in this movie, played by Louise Fletcher, who wants to talk to or get Reagan to open up about the events of the original film, what Reagan remembers. And Reagan is very hesitant on talking about it. She doesn't want to talk about it. You also have another character in this movie, played by Richard Burton. He is the main priest in this film, and he is assigned to investigate what happened to Father Marin from the original movie and how he died. Was it an exorcism that killed him, or was it something else? You also either believe what Linda Blair's character, what Reagan went through in this movie, or you have people that are skeptical of it. Louise Fletcher's character is one of them. She doesn't fully understand what's going on with Reagan because she doesn't know the full story, so she's a little skeptical on it. She knows something happened to her, but does she know it was a possession? And then you have the Richard Burton's character. He's the same way. Was she possessed? Did Father Marin die because of an exorcism? Was it a demon, Pazuzu, that killed him? So in the beginning of the movie, there's a lot of people trying to question things and figure out if the possession actually happened. And while all this is being talked about, the demon Pazuzu comes back and starts terrorizing Reagan and starts talking to the father, the priest, Richard Burton, in this movie, and takes him on a journey. And he finds out that there was another person from the past that Pazuzu possessed, and he is wanting to try to find this person and to get answers and try to protect Reagan from Pazuzu returning. So, and the person that Pazuzu possessed in the past is actually played by an early or a young James Earl Jones. This was one of his early performances, so you have him in this movie. The film has such a great cast overall. So, Richard Burton, Linda Blair, Louise Fletcher, Ned Beatty, again, James Earl Jones, the list goes on. And the acting is great in this movie. That's my first pro with the film, is I really enjoy the acting in this movie. You are invested in Reagan and what she's going through. You're invested in Richard Burton's character and what he's going through and his journey in the film. I really enjoyed, their performances, and I really enjoyed Louise Fletcher's performance in this movie. Again, she's the doctor that's a little skeptical about what's going on because she doesn't fully understand what happened to Linda Blair's character until the very end of the film. The actress in the movie, I believe her real life name is Kitty Wynn. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Kitty Wynn. She plays Sharon, and Sharon was in the original movie. And Sharon is looking after Reagan in this film. She's trying to protect her. She talks about in the movie how she had to stay away from Reagan because she feared her for 2 years, but there was something that drew her back to Reagan. And so she's very protective of her, Reagan's mom is not in this movie. She's, apparently, on location filming a movie. And so Sharon is looking after Reagan in the film. So I really enjoyed Kitty Wynn's performance. She did a great job in the movie. It was good to have Sharon back. Good to have her back in the movie. So the cast is amazing. I think the acting is great in this film. I think the set and the atmosphere is really good. I love the atmosphere in this movie. Obviously, the film came out in the 70s, and it has that 70s vibe. And it just looks great, in my opinion. It's directed great by John Borman, who directed Deliverance, his, Academy Award-winning directing movie. So he would go on to direct this film. So you had a really talented director behind the movie as well. Where this movie has its flaws, and I can see it, is the story. And it's not the original concept that this movie had. It's the fact that you had 5 changes within the story, 5 scripts that even Linda Blair was talking about in her interview, how they kept approaching her with different ideas, different elements that they wanted to bring into the movie. There were 5 people that wanted to add something into the movie, and you could see it in you could see it in the movie. It goes, campy. It goes in directions that you would not think that would go into. Even some of the stuff in the final third act of the film, the climax of the movie, is really campy. And, the movie started off as one movie, and it just kind of ends and turns out to be something totally different. So I see the flaws in the movie. I see, why the film isn't perfect. But I'm not one that will say that this movie is a terrible film. It's not one of the worst sequels ever made. It's not one of the worst horror movie sequels. I've seen terrible sequels, and this is not a terrible sequel. There is, in my opinion, a lot of great prose in this film. And there's very little cons in the movie. Again, you have great acting, you have a great director on board. He does a great job directing the film. Great practical sets. The atmosphere is great. It's just really the story that has issues. And I'll say that the movie does have its issues. It is not a perfect movie. There's not, there's movies that, in my opinion, that are perfect, but it's very little that I'll say that a movie is perfect. So, if that makes sense, there's no one's perfect, and not every movie's perfect. A lot of movies have flaws, even the smallest flaws a movie can have. But I do think this movie is great. I really enjoy the film. I'm entertained from the beginning to the very end. Not because it's a bad movie, because I don't think it's a bad movie, but because I'm just entertained. I'm hooked on the characters in this movie and where they go from the beginning up until the very end of the film. I really enjoy Richard Burton in this movie. I know that he was very notorious for his behavior and, being on movie sets. He wasn't like the greatest person to work with. He's a talented actor, but I know that he's notorious. He was notorious for, being on sets of movies and having problems. But there is an interview again with Linda Blair, and one of my favorite things she does talk about is she really enjoyed working with Richard Burton. That was one of the reasons she signed on to the movie, was because she was going to get to work with him. And you have a moment in the interview where she talks about how Richard Burton was very well known to have note cards on the sets of these movies, or poster boards that had his lines on them, because sometimes he had a hard time remembering his lines. And there was a moment in the film, I think it's in the museum, or the train station, where Linda Blair and Richard Byrne are talking, and they had no way of having his poster boards there with him for him to remember these lines, or, to read off these lines. And so Linda Blair was able to get acting out of him and was able to work out that scene with him. And it's a great moment in Linda Blair's interview that I really enjoyed. So you get that behind the scenes stuff that you might not have known of, or know existed. So really enjoyed her interview. Again, overall, I really enjoyed this film. I don't think this is a bad movie. It's not a terrible movie. It's not, in my opinion, the worst sequel ever made, like a lot of people would say it is. I totally disagree with that. I see the flaws that the movie has, but I think there's a lot more pros in this movie than there are cons in the movie. So if you've never seen The Exorcist 2: The Heretic, give it a watch, check it out, see it for yourself. I know some people stay away from this movie because they've heard nothing but negative things, but I say watch it. And even if you don't like it, you can at least say that you've seen Exorcist 2: The Heretic. It's a flawed movie. The story is flawed. But there's a lot, again, more great things about this movie than there are negative things about the film. So that is going to be my review on The Exorcist 2: The Heretic. I wanted to talk about this movie because I don't really talk about this film too much on my YouTube channel. I briefly mentioned the movie in the past, but this movie gets a lot of hate. And whenever you see a lot of interviews, or not interviews, but reviews on YouTube, and people talk about this movie, it's talking about how bad the film is. And we do have our different opinions, and that's totally fine, but I want to, come out here and say that I don't think this movie is a bad movie. I think it's a flawed movie, but it's not a bad movie in my opinion. So, but I hope you enjoyed this review. Again, check out Exorcist 2: The Heretic, and look out for the last week of Countdown to Halloween videos. I have my last final one, which I'm really excited about to talk about this sequel, because it's one of my all-time favorite horror movie sequels, and I hope you enjoy that and enjoy the rest of the content that I'm going to be releasing during the last week of October. So as always, y'all are awesome, y'all rock, and with a positive, out with a negative, and I'll talk to you later, and much love to you all.